Welcome again to Section 1 of the Brewers Anonymous BJCP Training Program. We are in Lesson 2, and the subject for this section is the BJCP Introduction and History, and we are going to discuss briefly the history of the BJCP. It's a pretty extensive history. This is kind of the summation of it all, and it should cover a good portion of what comes up on the exam, but we do have the link to the source material if you want to get the full story word for word after this is over. So I mentioned in the first lesson that the first form of the BJCP, or the first concept, I should say, started in 1985. That's because originally this was a joint venture project. In 1985, it was a project started by the American Homebrewers Association, the AHA, which might be an organization you're very familiar with, and the Home Wine and Beer Trade Association, the HWBTA. To launch the program, each organization had 2 members each in the BJCC, which was the Beer Judge Certification Committee. This was part of the BJCP. These were the 4 people that essentially ran the program, or maybe better said, launched and developed the program at this point in its history. As the program grew, more representatives were assigned, and then eventually director positions were created and also voted on. So this led to the BJCP becoming a quasi-independent program, an organization in and of itself, but it was still influenced by its 2 founding joint venture organizations, the AHA and the HWBTA. This quasi-independence wouldn't last forever, and they wouldn't always be tied to these 2 organizations. They would eventually get their independence. And it started in 1995, and maybe not in a way that you're expecting. It started when the AHA withdrew from the BJCP program to pursue their own certification program. This is a program you're probably not familiar with, and there's a reason why. Later that year, on April 19th, the HWBTA also followed suit, withdrawing, making the BJCP independent. Now, the reason you've probably never heard of that second AHA beer certification program is that the following year, in 1996, they announced they were no longer developing that program. As the BJCP grew, it started to modernize and adapt modern technologies for its organization. And in 2000, they jumped into the digital age with their new website, the online judge record databases, the development of web applications for their program, and they officially became all digital in their correspondence by 2002 when they discontinued physical mailings to the judges and went straight to electronic messaging, primarily in emails. Throughout all this, they continued certifying judges, sanctioning competitions, publishing style guidelines, and revising and updating those guidelines, approximately at a pace every 5 years. So that is the, in a nutshell, history of the BJCP. Like I said, there's more to it. It's pretty extensive. If you want to learn more about it in more detail, here is the link to the history and information about the BJCP on their own website, and this link will also be in the show notes. So that is it for this lesson. Let's go on to Lesson 3.